Hey YouTube, this is Steve from Average Joe's Fantasy Football, and week 4 is almost over. We do obviously have a Monday night game tonight, but essentially week 4 is almost over, so I wanted to get you guys ahead of the week 5 waivers. There were some significant injuries, and of course there were some players that really stood out that might actually help you guys out. We're about a quarter of the season already over, as crazy as that is. So again, these waivers are very important. We want to make sure you guys are prepared for that. If you guys are new to the channel and you guys do enjoy the content, make sure you hit the subscribe button and that notification bell is on. And of course, hit the like button as well. It is greatly appreciated. So we're going to jump right into these positions. So the first position I have is going to be the quarterback position. First guy I have is Jared Goff. He's available in about 48% of most leagues. They're going against the New England Patriots this week, who surprisingly did a pretty good job against Aaron Rodgers, but unfortunately did lose because it's Aaron Rodgers. But Jared Goff has been phenomenal the last few weeks. Even without all of his weapons yesterday, he put up over 350 passing yards, had 4 touchdowns. And again, that was without DJ Chark, DeAndre Swift, Amon-Ra St. Brown. So a lot of this really was put onto Josh Reynolds, TJ Hawkinson, Jamal Williams, but he did a phenomenal job, and he's been overlooked a lot because I think it's just because it's Jared Goff, but this Lions offense has been phenomenal, and they're in a lot of shootouts just because their defense is underperforming. So there is a good chance that Jared Goff may end up finishing as a top 10 quarterback this season based off of the production he's going to have to do to keep this team in their games. Now, the other quarterback I like this week as a good possible waiver is going to be Geno Smith. Now, he's got a tougher matchup against the New Orleans Saints, but he's available in 88% of most leagues. And if you're someone who's streaming quarterbacks, or maybe you're in a super flex and you need somebody because of injuries, Geno's been awesome. He's put up over 300 yards and 2 touchdowns each of the last 2 weeks. So he's looked really good. DK Metcalf's looked pretty good. Lockett's looked really good. And Rashad Penny showed up finally yesterday. For a lot of you guys who probably did sit and probably upset about that, but Geno Smith has really come on into the fantasy scene, and he had over 50 rushing yards yesterday and a touchdown. So that also helps. His rushing ability really adds a different factor to him this week. Now, as far as running backs go, the first guy I have is Raheem Mostert. He's available in about 50% of most leagues. He's going against the New York Jets. Mostert has increased his rushing shares and snaps on this offense. He's had over 65 rushing yards last week and still had a few receptions, even though a lot of it still falls on Chase Edmonds. One thing I will say, Chase Edmonds tends to be the red zone running back, which is a little bit of a concern with someone who might put in Mostert, but Mostert might be a little bit of a flex play. Or again, if there's a lot of injuries, you might have to put him in there. Against the Jets, I think it's a really good matchup for someone who might want to be flexed in there because he's putting about 10 to 12 points, which isn't horrible. Obviously, we love that big. I mean, if he adds a touchdown, he looks really good. So I like him as a good streamer and a good flex play for you guys. Another running back I like a lot is Tyler Algiere. He's available in 84% of most leagues. He is going against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who's actually one of the better rush defenses. Now, they did get blown up by the Kansas City Chiefs, and that's not too surprising because the Chiefs actually really have a still very powerful offense with Mahomes there. But he's seen more carries. Algiere's gotten more snaps each game. He's been really effective. Last week, he had only 10 carries, but he had 8 yards a carry. So he's really effective behind that offensive line. He's one of the few weapons that Atlanta does have. They're really going to be relying on their rookies, Algiere, Drake London, obviously their second-year man in Pitts. But he hasn't necessarily taken over the receiving role or the third down. That still tends to go to Cordell Patterson. Patterson definitely is taking a backseat to the running game, where they're kind of utilizing him more in that passing offense than obviously the running game. So Algiere is slowly taking over, and I can see him end up being the true RB1, possibly by week 8 to 9, just the way everything's kind of trending. Another guy I mentioned is going to be Nyheim Hines. Now, this is going to be based off the fact that Jonathan Taylor could miss Thursday's game. Jonathan Taylor does have a high ankle sprain. At least that's what it looks like so far. He's not in serious concern. Hines is available in about 38% of most leagues. They're going against the Denver Broncos, who are a pretty good rush defense and defense overall. But Taylor left that game due to that ankle. So this is something where maybe you need a handcuff if you have Jonathan Taylor, or maybe you just need to pick up somebody that you have some extra spots for. He's somebody you may want to consider. Again, stay tuned to the news. If you guys do have questions, obviously hit us in the comments. Or, of course, if you follow us on our socials on Twitter and Instagram, we'll update you guys as soon as we find out what's going on with Taylor. Another running back who is based off of injury is possibly Mike Boone is a good pickup. Now, Melvin Gordon will probably most likely take over, but with Javonte Williams going out of the game and being seen with crutches at the the end of the game, there's a very, very serious chance that he's got a serious injury, which means it's going to fall on Melvin Gordon and possibly Mike Boone. Now, Mike Boone obviously is available in 100% of most leagues because nobody ever thought about picking him up. They are going against the Indianapolis Colts on Thursday night. So this is going to be a quick turnaround game. I still think it's going to be Gordon, but if you really look at that game, if you watch any of the end of the game, Mike Boone was the guy at that last drive. Which says a lot because Melvin Gordon has had some fumbles, and he fumbled actually and lost one in that game earlier. So the fumbles might be putting Melvin Gordon in the doghouse and putting Mike Boone as the RB1 in this offense. So just keep an eye on that, but he's definitely someone you're going to go after. And again, if you're in Fab, you want to put a little bit higher percentage on this one, especially if you have the space for it. Now, as far as wide receivers go, the first guy I have is George Pickens. Now, Pickens available in 61% of most leagues. I'm not saying he's going to be a wide receiver 2, not even possibly a wide receiver 3 yet, but as soon as Kenny Pickett went in for Mitchell Trubisky, Pickens looked amazing. Pickens became the favorite target of Pickett, and who knows if Pickett's going to be the next guy for next week. We'll see how that goes. But Pickens is slowly becoming the second receiver behind Deontay Johnson. Now, Deontay Johnson actually did not get targeted as much as Pickens did. Pickens actually had 100 receiving yards, got targeted 8 times in that game. So he looked really good. And again, this is something that he's pretty much wide receiver 2. Claypool's pretty much non-existent. Deontay Johnson's still the wide receiver 1 as of right now. And I still think he will be. But I think the rapport with Pickett and Pickens, as crazy as that sounds, is going to be probably a little bit stronger than obviously Pickett with Deontay. But we'll see how that goes. Obviously, stay tuned to see if they actually announce Kenny Pickett as the starting quarterback for the Steelers. Right now, it's still Trubisky, but he did get pulled for that game. Another receiver I like is Romeo Dubose. Dubs is right now available in 31% of most leagues, so he's probably not available in yours, but he may be. He's going against the New York Giants this week. Look, Dubs has become one of Rodgers' favorite receivers right now. Obviously, Lazard's there, but if he didn't have that big drop for the touchdown, Dubs would have really put up some phenomenal points. And he started to trust him, even though that drop happened. He still trusts him towards the end of the game in the overtime. He still finished with 14 points in PPR. And again, 2 weeks in a row now with a touchdown. So again, this is somebody that is slowly taking off. And this was mentioned a lot in preseason that he could possibly be the wide receiver 1 in this offense. And it's always challenging because if you ever watch any of Aaron Rodgers' games, him and rookie receivers don't always bode so well. But this is one that it may actually end up turning out to be a different scenario. And Dubs might end up being a really strong, low wide receiver 2 for you for the rest of the season. Another receiver, this is always going to be based off of injuries, going to be Josh Reynolds. He's available in 80% of most leagues. He's going against the New England Patriots. And now if Amon-Ra is still out, if Chark is still out, Reynolds becomes a wide receiver 1/2, depending on what happens with those receivers. So he's been a really good option. He filled in really well. He had over 80 yards of receiving and a touchdown with 8 targets. So he did a really good job filling in for Amon-Ra and obviously Chark being out. He was obviously the second receiver behind TJ Hawkinson in that game for Goff. So if there is a potential of those receivers being out, Reynolds is a really good matchup because he is going to be heavily targeted. He's in a team where they are playing behind. We'll see how that New England team plays out with Hoyer got hurt, Mac Jones hurt, so the rookie had to play. We'll see how that plays, but I like Josh Reynolds a lot this week. Now, the last player I feel you should be picking up this week is going to be Michael Gallup. Michael Gallup obviously didn't have a phenomenal game. He did put up a touchdown and I think 3 receptions. But with that said, Michael Gallup it's his first game back from his injury. Okay. He's available in 59% of most leagues. He's going against the Rams, so I'm not saying he's starting this week, but he's one of Dak's favorite targets. Now, right now, Cooper Rush is doing a phenomenal job for the Dallas Cowboys, but when Dak does come back healthy, he'll be the starter, and Gallup will now be a significant wide receiver 2 opposite of CeeDee Lamb. And both of those guys really complement each other really well. So this is somebody you may want to grab a little early just to take advantage of. Again, when Dak comes back, I think Gallup is going to really improve. And he's, again, first game back from his injury, so it's only going to get better. And he was definitely on a snap count. You can kind of see it. Noah Brown was still the wide receiver 2 yesterday, and he still did pretty well. So again, Gallup's definitely somebody I'm looking at. Now, I didn't have really tight end in here. You could possibly maybe pick up Disley or something like that. There's really not a lot of great tight ends that I would worth spending any of my fab or waiver wire on any of them. Really, it's the receivers and running backs in this aspect. But Again, if you guys have questions, hit us up in the comments. So those are your week 5 waiver wire pickups you should be grabbing this week. Again, we want to make sure you guys get this waiver wire video as soon as possible. And we'll be dropping, obviously, our start and sit videos. And we'll be dropping a couple of unique videos this week as well. I've got some good ideas for you guys to kind of really get you in good position. Again, we're a quarter of the way of the season, so I want to make sure you guys are ready for that. If you guys did enjoy the content, make sure the subscribe button and that notification bell is on. Of course, if you guys did enjoy it as well, make sure you hit the like button. It's greatly appreciated. Stay tuned. We'll be dropping our start and sit videos as well to get you guys prepared. We have a Thursday game, and of course, again, we have another London game on Sunday morning, super early, so make sure you guys pay attention to that. All right, I'll check you guys out next time.